So I'm going to show you today how to build a very simple expression for the Urturn platform. Urturn is a service for expressing yourself, usually graphically, but really in however way you want. You can do expressions that contain audio, so if you want to show off a particular track, then you can do that with additional text and photographs if you want to. You can do this or that, so you can have people pick in a kind of poll between two different things. You can stick arrows on top of things. You can pretty much do whatever you want with the stock expressions that are contained within Urturn. But now that they've released their developer platform, I'm going to show you very quickly how you can build an expression of your own and deploy it to the Urturn service and start using it straight away. But the bonus is you're not actually going to have to write one line of code. Proviso is, though, you will have to amend a couple of lines of code, but you don't actually have to write anything new in order to get this to work. So let's dive in. Okay, so once you've installed the Urturn command tool belt from developers.urturn.com, you can install that by following this instruction and pasting it into your terminal, into your console. It'll install Node.js if that isn't installed already, and it'll also install the tool belt, which is a selection of scripts written by the developers at Urturn to help you more easily build the expressions and use the interfaces that they have with their front end, with their back end, and the elements that they give you there to get you going very quickly. So I've already installed it, but just to go through quick, we'll run it once more. You see it downloads Node.js and then the Urturn tool belt. It will skip Node if it's already included. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create a sticker application. Now, sticker is very simple. It's essentially going to use a photograph, and then it's going to apply an image that we specify on top of that and allow you to manipulate that image, move it around, change the angle, get it so it's where you want it to be, and then you'll save that out as a canvas, which will be the sticker that you added, as well as the image that you took originally, and you'll post that up to Urturn, where people can then grab that same expression and do their own version of it, but with the same sticker and a different photo. You'll see in a second. It's very, very simple. So, to get going, we are going to use one of the templates. Now, when you first create something with Urturn, you get a basic set of files. So I'll show you what those are first of all. So if I call it my expression to start with, it's going to create that for me. And then if I cd into my expression and open it up in Sublime, what we can see here is what just got built by running that command. You have a couple of things. You have an editor.html, which is a view that you define for when people are editing the expression. Now, if you were going to change any code, this would be where it would be, because the expression creation is where the majority of it is. Player.html is then what gets shown to the user after you've done all the editing. And usually that's very, very simple. Most of the time it will just display back a media item such as a piece of video, audio, imagery, or a combination of those. If you look inside, there's been some predefined code written, in this case post wrapper, and in the editor side of things, just some predefined text to show you that there is actually a difference between the two if you run it inside the sandbox. You have a couple of resources. In this case, there's banner, and then you've also got your CSS and your main.js. Again, this is predefined just to give you something to click on. You can actually clear the majority of this out and start from scratch if you want to. But we're not going to do that today. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to get rid of this completely, because that would involve us having to actually write some code. We don't need to do that today. For the expression we're going to create, there's a template already ready for us to actually take a copy of, and then we just need to replace a couple of assets. So in order to do that, go back to the command line. So let's clear that out so you can see that a little better. So what we're going to do is go to Urturn, create Margify, and specify the sticker template by using the T flag. Now, there's a selection of templates available predefined on Urturn. You can see them inside the documentation at developers.urturn.com. And then once you specify this, it will copy over a version of that, but give it the name that you've specified here. So we're going to call this expression margify. The savvy of you will kind of know where this is going, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create an expression that adds Marge Simpson style blue hair to any picture that we take. So let's go and see when using that template, what's being created for us. So we have our editor view. In this case, there is a sticker.png specified for us already, which is a generic sticker. And this is going to be something that we're going to replace, but we'll get to that in a second. Expression.json outlines the control for our application. So we have a system name, we can give it a title, let's uppercase that, the description, add Marge Simpson hair to any photo. Version number. Now the version number is not important at this point, but if you were to build an expression and then deploy it many times, in order for the users to see the very latest version of what you've deployed, you need to increment this each time. Now you can either do it by typing it in manually here, or you can actually do it automatically when you deploy. And we'll get to that in a second. I'll show you how we can do that. You define any dependencies that you'll need here as well. Assets, main.js is something that we're going to need because it comes included. Styles.css is the same, and assets sticker.png. So these are the three files we need to make this expression work. We're only actually going to need to modify this PNG in order to get this to be an expression that has changed from the template and gives us the opportunity to start doing something different with it. All we're really doing is replacing the sticker. But you will need to modify some code, like I said, and that code is going to be in here, and it will also be inside editor and player. So let's get ourselves some hair. If I go over to Photoshop, you can see that I've already got a Marge hair PNG already prepared, so we will just save this out now. Size wise, you need to kind of think about the way that your expression is going to function. So in this case, we're going to be taking a picture. Most of the time that's probably going to be portrait, and most of the time it'll probably be through the mobile application. Although Urturn Expressions work on the web as well, most of the time the interaction is going to be through the mobile phone. So think about how wide and how high that's going to be, and don't make your sticker PNG too big. One, because you don't have to load in something massive and then have people scale it all the way back down again. But you also want to make it big enough that it can be used in varying different types of photographs, and you don't want to have to scale it up to actually fit on top of somebody's head. So this is roughly around 200 pixels wide by about 350 deep in height, sorry. So we'll save this out to transparent PNG. So we've got our Margify folder here, and inside resources, inside assets, we've got sticker.png. Just for ease, we'll change that out to hair.png. Okay, so that's saved. We're done with Photoshop. We're done with Marge. So inside editor, we will go into expression.json, change this out to be hair.png, so that gets included inside the package that we deploy for people to use. Inside editor, we'll do that as well. Okay, and now at this point we are pretty much ready to rock and roll. So let's run this up now inside the Urturn sandbox, which is essentially a local version of the Urturn platform that allows you to check and debug some of the aspects of what you've made. So we run that up here by typing Urturn sandbox. And that opens up a local server running at port 3333. So let's go to localhost. Okay, and we see some of the things that we have changed already. So I uppercased the title and we added the description, and that's what you'll see here. Now banner is actually this. We won't make one for this, but what you would need to do in order to change this out from this little toolset version here is just change banner.png, which is contained inside resources. So if you change that, it'll change this as well. So let's go in and start to check whether this works. What we'll do is, rather than having this set up for web, we'll change it to iPhone. So we've got a bit more of the width that we're thinking about using. Let's add an image. Now in sandbox mode, you actually don't get a chance to take an image, but it will just put one in there for you from a random selection. But what you really need to use this for is to check that you can move your hair around, and you can actually grab hold of this and do any resizing or angling that you would need to do. And you can see that we can. Our hair works absolutely fine. We can scale it up and down. We can rotate it. Let's quit this out so we know that that works. So let's just change out the hair inside our player as well. Okay, so let's go and deploy this to Urturn now so that we can actually play with it in the real world. And I'll show you how to go through that process. Start by typing Urturn deploy. The email that's required is whatever you signed up with. Now, if you registered with Twitter or Facebook, you will need to actually go into the settings on your account and actually add a password for this so you can start to develop, because it won't work otherwise. Okay, so it goes through the script for doing it, minifies everything and uploads it to the service, and then when it's done, it gives you a URL to hit, which is the actual application live on the Urturn platform. Now, in order to actually allow people to work with your application, you need to head to that address first of all. Now we can click on Make Our Own, add an image, allow the camera, get it back a little bit. There we go, so we've added Marge hair. We can add in a little note and post it up. And that's it. The post has been published to Urturn. We haven't had to write any code. All we've had to do is write an image. I'm sure there's a ton of things that you can think of stickers wise that you can actually do with this. An event recently, I saw some people adding Stephen Fry into the mix, Daft Punk masks, all kinds of things, Google glasses. You know, there's a ton of things that you can do with this, and you can do it extremely quickly, as you've just seen, without having to write any code at all. Okay, so now there's one last thing we need to achieve before the rest of the world can start using this, and that is that we need to make it public. Now up here, you just need to click on this. Once you have selected it, that means that your expression is available for anyone to go and find and anyone to use, and also, more importantly, for anyone to take their own turn on. So once you've published one, you can get it out to your friends and they can do their own, and you'll see different versions start to pop up in your timeline. So that's it, very, very quickly, a little look at how to work with Urturn, how to do a very simple expression without having to write any code at all, just modifying a little bit and coming up with a decent idea for what you should do. Now, I don't admit that Margify is a good idea there, but I just wanted something simple that I could show you. So I hope you enjoyed, and good luck with creating your own expressions. You can find all the details that you need on how to do that at developers.urturn.com.